best boxing content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and punch that bell for notifications.
Sam Burgos is the referee, and they are scheduled for 10.
All right, gentlemen, remember, we get the instructions in the back. Obey my command and protect yourself at all times. You have any questions? Any questions? Let's touch them all, come out of the bell. Touch them all.
A look at the corners we will be dealing with today. The Hall of Famer in one corner, and Peter Manfredo Sr., who of course will be with his son in the main event, in the other corner. And there is the former lightweight and junior welterweight world champ, the Hawk.
Rodriguez is 7 years younger. We'll see how that serves him. You go back 3 fights, and Pryor was off for 1 year. Very tall Pryor, as you could see. You don't need me to tell you, but not very physical. And I don't know how together he is mentally. And usually tall, thin guys, they better be together mentally because they're going to get a lot of pressure from shorter guys trying to get into that tall body and that thin body.
Rodriguez 6 foot tall, so gives up 4.5 inches to Pryor Jr.
See a tall guy, you say, well, that's good, Joe. You can use the jab, you can stay on the outside. The bad news is when the shorter guy, in this case Rodriguez, gets close, there can be a lot of target there, a lot of thin body to attack. And if Pryor stands straight up, like he did right there, well, you can find him.
Yeah, that's a long torso on Pryor Jr.
I don't know that Pryor can be competitive in this fight if he can handle the pressure and stay on the outside. That's the only way he can do it. I'm liking Rodriguez because of his amateur background. 2-time national amateur champion, 90 fights.
Don't push, hey. Bring this
Only 30 amateur bouts for Pryor.
He was really targeting those 2008 Olympics. He has 4-year-old twins, and caring for them really sidetracked his amateur career and plans. Obviously, a father first and foremost. They were born at 23 weeks, so they've had challenging lives.
To me, all you need to know about this fight that Rodriguez and his people are very confident, Joe, is that in the last fight, for both fighters, they fought on the same card. And what that tells me is that Rodriguez's people, they saw Pryor, they liked what they saw, and they chose him as an opponent.
That card was back on November 5th in Fargo, North Dakota. And Rodriguez scored a 9th round TKO over Buddy McGirt's son, James McGirt. So here he is with back-to-back sons of champions. And what are the odds that your career would line up the 2 sons of great legends from the last generation of fighters?
And what are the odds right now that if Rodriguez keeps timing or looking for that body the way he is, and he's so committed to, that Pryor's going to be able to survive those body shots?
There's a right hand over the top from Pryor Jr. And it's been a steady, consistent workload throughout this first round by Edwin Rodriguez. Coming to the end of one here on Friday Night Fights.
Hey, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Even the southeast with the ice storm, but here at the southernmost point, always beautiful. And these fighters love coming here each and every year, as do we. Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas with you ringside. Aaron Pryor Jr. and Edwin Rodriguez in our opening bout before we see the veterans of Friday Night Fights. Many thrilling fights through the years. Peter Manfredo Jr. and Daniel Edward coming up in our main event.
You know, I talked about how I think the opportunity is there for Rodriguez to attack that long, thin body of Pryor. But to do that, he needs to make sure that he does something that a lot of guys that are shorter than their opponents don't like to do, not disciplined enough to do sometimes, and that's use the jab. You know, a lot of times people think that just the faster guy, the taller guy, is the one that it's incumbent on him to use the jab. Not the truth. Mike Tyson, when he was Mike Tyson, He was shorter than everyone, but he used that jab, and that jab set everything up. You can out-jab somebody taller, you know when and where to throw it. Rodriguez needs to use that jab to get in with the taller guy, take the taller Pryor's jab away. And then everything else will come from there.
There's a wide sweeping right hand to the body from Rodriguez.
When Pryor stepped up a little bit, so far in his career, he has not handled it well. That is when he has lost. So far, Rodriguez has handled the step up in class better than Pryor.
Both men opening up that time.
You know what that was from? That was a little bit of a counter left hook from Rodriguez, and it was because Pryor gave up his height.
He fell in after throwing that right hand.
Yeah, he didn't keep his feet anchored. Instead of throwing the right hand and keeping himself set where he kept defense with the offense, where he kept his position, which is good on the outside, he fell in. And that left hook found him. When you're the taller guy like Pryor, you want to make the shorter man do the work to get to you and take chances to get to you. Go through a bad neighborhood to get to you. Have to come forward and maybe run into some shots. You don't want to do the work for him. And a moment ago, Pryor did the work for Rodriguez. He fell in. Make the shorter guy do his own work, Joe.
Doubling up that jab now.
This is where
Pryor Jr.
See, this is where you want to see the jab of the longer, taller Pryor, but you want to see the jab of the shorter man to get in.
End of two. Round number 3 of our opening bout tonight. Aaron Pryor Jr. Yes, as in the son of that Aaron Pryor. The 6'4.5" super middleweight, 32 years old and 15-2 against the unbeaten prospect from Massachusetts, Edwin Rodriguez, now 17-0. We're listening to Peter Manfredo Sr. in the corner of Rodriguez. Teddy, he brought up the jab from the smaller man. He told Rodriguez, hey, a double jab will get you close to him. That'll get you to him to do something. You double up that jab, it closes the gap against the taller guy, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the length and height and distance of an opponent where he's fighting dictates how many jabs you need. If a guy's right in front of you, one jab might do the trick. If a guy is taller and longer, like you just said with Pryor, 2, maybe even 3 jabs will get you there. 1 jab, you're going to fall short. There's a little counter left hook by Rodriguez. Again, Pryor helping him a little bit by giving up his height. The key to being tall is drawing a line in the camps and fighting at a certain distance on the outside and making sure your feet are set. They don't slide in. They slide in, your body slides in, you're not tall.
Programming reminder, the North American Poker Tour on ESPN2, Saturday at 10 Eastern. It's also available on ESPN3.com starting at 5.
Pryor wants to stay outside, use the jab, look for spots for the right hand like we said, and keep your edge piece. Rodriguez wants to get close, but not like he did a moment ago. When he gets close, he doesn't want to get smothered. Wants to be able to work, do some damage.
Right hand to the top of the head by Pryor did hardly anything that time. Almost jousting with that left hand at times, rather than snapping it out there.
You always have to be tough mentally, together mentally to be in this sport. But when you're tall, I mentioned in the first round, it's incumbent on you even more so to be together mentally because guys are coming after you. When you're tall, they're trying to get close to the tall guy.
You know what I find so many times, Teddy, when we sit ringside? Height may be the most wasted physical asset time and time again in the sport.
And sometimes it's the most, and it's a good point, most detrimental thing to a tall fighter because right there is a good example. Pryor, when you get in close with him, he stands tall. There's a lot of target for Rodriguez to find.
it's coming. Hey, in the next round or two, he's gonna slow down, and that's when you're gonna nail it with that right hand. But you got to stick with the jab, man. You got to go home with the jab. Pop, 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 pop. He can't do nothing about it. He can't even get away from it. Use
Modern day
jab.
Hawk time.
Use your jab, and the other punches are gonna come.
Aaron
Jab,
Pryor
jab,
Sr.,
jab. And
Hall
then you
of
expect
Famer,
what to do next.
one of the best of a
Do
generation.
it off your jab.
Now the trainer for his son.
Do it off
Of course,
your
the
jab.
resume
Do
on
it
the
off
Hall
your
of
jab.
Famer, Teddy. Everybody remembers the fights with Arguello, the controversy with trainer Panama Lewis, but truly one of the best, and a style that was so pleasing.
And one of the most exciting. You know, he threw punches from the first bell to the last bell. Great confidence, great motor, like they say in football. You got to have a guy with a great motor, always going every quarter. Pryor was going every round.
And this is his son we're watching tonight, who comes in at 6'4.5", super middleweight, facing the unbeaten Edwin Rodriguez in the white with the red trim. 17-0 is Rodriguez.
You know, it takes great discipline to be a fighter, great discipline and togetherness to be a great trainer. Pryor, I find it very interesting. I think it's a really difficult situation for the father. I mean, it's difficult anyway to be in there with your son, somebody who you raised, and now you have to send them to do something that most fathers would be the opposite. You want to protect your son, you want to get him away from conflict, and now you're sending your child into conflict. I mean, that is, you know, it's something that's not normal for a parent, something very difficult to deal with. But for Pryor Sr., what's difficult from a trainer's aspect is his style was to walk forward and just chuck punches. He's got to tell his son, actually, don't do as I did. You know, don't do something that I did for all those years and I was successful at doing. Stay on the outside and be selective with your punches.
Come on, jab, baby.
Let's look at Teddy's scorecard as it stands right now. There's a long-ranging right hand from Pryor Jr. You see Rodriguez up 2 rounds to 1. A smile on the face as he's able to get out of the way of that right hand from Rodriguez.
You know, I'm sure that Aaron Pryor Sr., I mean, when he was in the ring fighting, he had to make decisions. You know, he had to kind of push certain thoughts out of his mind and push other thoughts into his mind. I'm sure he has to do that in the corner, and sometimes he probably catches himself saying, I want to tell my son to throw more punches. But if he throws more punches, he'll give up his height, and it would be detrimental to his style. So there's a battle that the father has to fight, even now that he's retired. That battle of controlling his emotions in the corner as a trainer for his son. Always fighting after all these years. In some ways, it never changes.
Indeed. We're also going to have a father training a fighter in our main event. Peter Manfredo Sr. will be there with Manfredo Jr. as he takes on Daniel Edwin. He's also working the corner of Edwin Rodriguez, his fine-looking charge here.
And I talked the last round, a couple rounds ago, about that Pryor should not help Rodriguez because Rodriguez wants to get close. Pryor shouldn't do his work by falling in. Well, right now, Rodriguez doing a lot of work for Pryor, staying outside where Pryor likes him. You throw a right hand, you want your feet set, keep your distance, and now you can come back with a left hook. No left hook from Pryor? Of course not. The feet were not set.
Good example of the technical side. Round number 5 scheduled for 10. And right hand just missed from Rodriguez. Zamberto's the referee, having to get a little more involved here in these middle rounds.
You know, you can make a statement that works both ways in this fight. Both guys need their jab to win, just in different dimensions. Pryor needs it to keep Rodriguez off him and to set up the right hand. Of course, Rodriguez needs it to get close and do damage.
There are the total punches according to CompuBox. Comparable numbers between these two. Rodriguez able to roll to the right side.
No doubt in my mind, the jab, the most important punch in this fight. Now, it may end with a right hand or a body punch, but without the jab, we don't get to that place. That's not a good picture if you're a fan of Rodriguez. He gets close, he does nothing. Allows himself to tie up. It's a good picture for Pryor because he wants to tie up on the inside. His arms are too long to be effective in there.
Got the back of the head. Stop, no throwing. Let him go.
I don't know. Rodriguez will be
Get up, get back.
still have a 0 at the end of his record at the end of tonight. I have his fight very close. And if
Two good right hands.
he keeps right hands, he will not. But either way, even if he does go on to solve the height of Pryor and get away from enough right hands to win this fight and stay undefeated, there's a lot of kicks in his armor. As an undefeated fighter, you can see there's a lot of work to be done if Rodriguez is going to move up the boxing ladder.
Now Pryor just scored with 2 right hands in the final minute of this 5th round. Able to block that wide right hand of Rodriguez. Coming to the halfway point of our opening bout of the night. Outdoors here in Key West. End of 5 scheduled for 10. Joe and Teddy with you here outdoors on the waterfront in Key West, Florida for Friday Night Fights. Still to come tonight, our main event includes the star from the Contender reality show who went on to become a world title challenger, Peter Manfredo Jr., against the Haitian sensation, the all-action pressure of Daniel Edwin. Still to come. Round number 6 between Rodriguez and Aaron Pryor Jr.
I think we know what Pryor's looking for. Stay on the outside, look for the jab, and set up the right hand.
Right hand to the body that time, and there is the jab from the son of the Hall of Famer.
Rodriguez looking to get close, work the body. His problem is that happens. He gets inside, he falls off balance, he gets tangled up, he's not able to do any work. But for me, Rodriguez's best opportunity is something we haven't touched on yet. He gets close every once in a while. Watch, Joe. He does a pretty good job of slipping to his left. That time he stood there and he ate a right hand. But a lot of times he'll get in here, move his head here, slip to his left, and get outside the right hand. He'll be in perfect position, like right there, to come back with the left hook and catch the tall Pryor. But Rodriguez does not pull the trigger on the left hook.
So a flush right hand moments ago, and then there's a right hand by Rodriguez, but some confidence being gained by Pryor Jr. Right hand to the body, just missed with the left uppercut.
Keep looking for that opportunity, Joe. There's a great opportunity, Rodriguez. He does a pretty good job once in a while, slipping to his left, where he gets outside the right hand. He needs to then come back with the left hook. If he does that, I think he's going to find Pryor, and he's going to affect Pryor.
See if that opportunity creates itself if Pryor throws that right hand here.
Sometimes you want to draw what's a danger, you know, what's a threat to you. You want to walk towards it, draw it, get it out of the way, slip it, make it miss, and then counter it instead of just waiting for him to pick a spot to unleash it on you. Get it out of the way. Go right towards it and make it happen.
Push him down, let him go.
Tying up on the inside now instead of working is Rodriguez.
Let's go.
Tyson used to do a pretty good job of that, you know,
Oh, yeah.
where he'd come towards you, he'd put pressure on you, he'd force a lead out of you, he'd make you miss, and then he'd be right there.
So Pryor Jr. and Rodriguez coming to the end of round number 6. Our main event includes Daniel Edwin against Peter Manfredo Jr. ESPN Deportes' Claudia Trejos is with Manfredo Jr.
Thank you, Joe. Here we're with Pete. We understand you had some changes in your training camp. What happened? How did that affect you?
I was supposed to go to LA to finish with Freddie Roach. We had a snowstorm, got postponed for a week, so it wasn't worth going. So I stayed here. My father worked me out.
How hard was it?
It's always hard. You know, you have to go hard. Go hard or go home. We're ready to fight tonight.
And talking about precisely working hard or going home, we had a chance to speak to Danny Edward, and he did mention that this fight is the last fight. If he doesn't take the win, this would be the end of his career. Back to you, Joe.
Thanks, Claudia. So Manfredo Jr., as he has done a few times in recent years, wanting to work with Freddie Roach, but as we well know, living in the Northeast, winter can change things. And the day after Christmas, huge nor'easter came through. It disrupted travel plans for days for many, including Peter Manfredo Jr.'s plans to go out west. So they just made the decision to stay in Providence. He worked and finished up camp with his dad, and then they made the trip down here to Key West.
But Joe, one of the only reasons they were going to go back and work with Roach this time was because Peter Manfredo Sr. had hip replacement surgery,
right.
So it was very difficult for him to be working in the gym. So that's why they were going to go out there. So when they got forced to stay here because of the snow, hey, we talk about the fighter being difficult on the fighter. This was difficult on Peter Manfredo Sr., who's a good trainer. Not easy training somebody when you have two good hips. Now you have one. That is a tough road to hoe.
Seen some success from Manfredo Sr. beyond just training his son. He had a very good year with Jesse Brinkley. Came up with a big upset win in Reno on our air last year, and then earned himself a big money fight. And there is Manfredo Sr. coming off the hip surgery and working both of our TV fights tonight.
You know, he does a good job, Peter Manfredo Sr. Good job as a cornerman, as a trainer, and altogether as a person, because I remember a situation where he had a commitment to a fighter he was training. I can't remember exactly who the fighter was at this moment. And he had a commitment to that fighter, and his son was fighting the night before. And he could have easily said, you know what, I can't keep the commitment. I got my son fighting. No, he let someone else go with his son. He kept the commitment.
It was Brinkley.
Yeah, it was. It was Jesse Brinkley.
Junior was fighting back in New England. Brinkley was fighting a critical fight in his career, at a crossroads in his career where he desperately needed a win, and they got it.
You know, I like to see that from people. You want to expect that from people, but you don't get it all the time. That shows real character. Anybody can tell someone to throw a jab and maybe slip a jab, but to have the character to show how you can keep your commitment and how you can make the decision that's supposed to be made, that's an important lesson. And Manfredo did that. And a lot of other trainers have not done that in their career.
Lead right uppercut from Rodriguez moments ago.
Rodriguez seems to have a little bit of a rhythm going now, an offensive rhythm going. Maybe getting the tape put on his gloves broke up that rhythm for a moment, but he seems to be getting a little control here. He wants to come forward, he wants to move his head, make that right hand miss, and for me, now what he wants to do is get inside and work that left hook. See, that I don't understand, why Rodriguez, you get close to the taller man. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. When he slips to his left, there's an opportunity when that right hand misses to come back with that left hook. That's where Rodriguez needs to get a little bit better.
That time he stayed on that left-hand side, and Pryor Jr. tried to come with a right hand.
See, his feet are bad, and that's one thing that's hurting Rodriguez now, and that's the fundamentals again. He's getting inside, but his feet are getting parallel. He's losing his balance, and he's not able to work when he gets inside. He has to go back outside. You don't want to go back outside like that, because then you're going to eat that long right hand.
Head just snapped straight back that time as Pryor Jr. scored.
Teddy say tall, wiry fighters are the most dangerous. Do you think Teddy's getting, when we're of course talking about Aaron Pryor Jr., the power he should be getting given his length and leverage?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. I do say that, and that caller makes a good point. I'm glad he listens. I'm glad he watches our show. But wiry guys get good leverage in their punches. Arguello, Zarate, Bob Foster, the great light heavyweight champion of the world years ago. But you have to have your feet set to really get that leverage, and that's where Pryor is really not doing himself a service or a justice. He's not setting his feet. He can have that power, but when his feet slide and his right foot is the one that's sliding, no, he's not getting optimal power in that punch.
45 seconds into round number 8, scheduled for 10. Let's look at Teddy's scorecard, and I'll tell you what both corners had to say. Teddy has it even at 67-67. The Rodriguez camp with Peter Manfredo Sr., they told him, hey, this is a close fight. You have to go out and do this. The Pryor Jr. camp with Dad and James Ali Bashir, they said, you are flat out losing this fight. You better get to him, and you have to knock him out.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that to me, and that's real easy to read as a lifer in this sport, being in boxing my whole life, is that's coming from a father. A father would be more prone to lie to his son. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. In his mind, he's got to have his son down. In his mind, it is so urgent to him. That's his son out there. You know, he can't tell his son the truth. Even if he thought it was close, he can't see it that way. He sees it in a more desperate way. He sees it as a father, not as a trainer.
Glad you're with us for Friday Night Fights here in Key West, the start of a very good sports weekend, including conference tip-off week on ESPN. Of course, ESPN, the home for college hoops. Triple header on Saturday. Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Virginia against #1 Duke is at 2 o'clock. We'll see if the Dukies can bounce back after their loss against Florida State the other night.
Hey, watch this. Come on, guys. Keep it clean.
I'll give Pryor credit. I didn't think he would be able to be this competitive. Part of it is because he's come here to fight and shown heart. Part of it is Rodriguez has been less than I thought he would be. But right now,
that's the thing that surprises me the most. He's not as tightened up as I figured a fighter I was going to see tonight.
No, and he just had another opportunity. Again, he slipped to his left, made the right hand miss, but no left hook coming back from Rodriguez. One of the things Pryor has to be careful, he's behaving like a fighter that wants to win. He's coming forward, but he's giving up the height coming forward, and that's going to give opportunities for Rodriguez. Once again, just there, he slipped to his left, made the right hand miss, did the hard part, made the punch miss, didn't come back with the hook.
I told you not to do it again. 1 point.
A 1-point deduction.
This is a big moment in this fight.
For using the elbow.
Don't do it again.
Burgos had given him a warning earlier, and he's quick now to take a point away here in round number 8 in what appears to be a fairly close fight. That could be a critical juncture.
It's a close round or a close fight or not a close fight. You have to do your job, but that is a tough one to have a point taken away for us. I mean, you can make an argument he's off balance and his elbow just flied out.
Let him go, let him go.
Well, Rodriguez went straight back that time, and Pryor Jr. just chased him down with a right hand here to open up this 9th round. Teddy's scorecard, the 10-8 with the point deduction, makes it 77-75.
Yeah, that's just a huge penalty at that point in the fight, especially if the judges, as I had, have Rodriguez winning that round. You get a 2-point advantage.
You take a point deduction, Teddy, as a referee, and you really got to say to yourself, hey, is the foul I just saw the equivalent of handing somebody a free knockdown?
In that case, it was.
Look at the punch stats. According to CompuBox, 128 landed for Pryor Jr., 125 landed for Rodriguez. I'm sure some of our Friday Night Fight fans will be chirping a bit over seeing that point deduction. Of course, you can tweet Brian Kenny at ESPN, and BK will select some of those tweets and join in the conversation here on Friday Night Fights.
Rodriguez has to work on his balance and his position. There's a good example right there in his footwork to keep that balance. He'll make punches miss every once in a while, but he's out of position to throw back. There's a good example of it, Joe. He made a nice weave there, but then he got off balance and he fell out. And too often tonight, I've seen Rodriguez get close and then pull out again. Pull out right into the punch zone of Pryor. You're the shorter man. You want to get close. You want to stay there. You don't want to go back out where you're in danger after you just got past that danger.
Remember how you talked about the confidence of the Rodriguez camp of seeing Pryor Jr. on the same card on November 5th? I think that may have worked against them.
They may have taken it, and I think that's a good point. They may have taken it for granted, and his fighter, in this case Rodriguez, took for granted that he had a mark in front of him, an easy match. nothing's easy for the most part when you get in that squared circle. Good example again, Rodriguez made the slip to the left, but wasn't balanced to come back.
A fight that's closer than expected, with the exception of, and still waiting to hear the results of how this point deduction will factor into these scorecards. 1 round to go. Let's listen into each corner.
He was wrong for stopping that fight. That referee
Still got a round to go here. You've got to land the shots underneath. Throw it over the top. You're wasting energy like that. Land the shot in the chest and then it'll set the uppercut off the hooks up. Last round, you got to dig down.
I bet it is, too.
Come on, they're going to try to take
So you heard the Hall of
right
Famers'
behind the call.
displeasure with the point deduction, and now here's Peter Manfredo Sr. with Rodriguez.
Did that double jab and that shot up the middle like you were doing, all right? That was good. Relax, Larry. Let him relax. Relax. He's fine. He's going to win this fight. Stay calm, but put the pressure. Back him up, all right? Use the jab. Get 1-2-1 if you have to. All right?
See, when we were in the corner a moment ago with Pryor, there was a good example again of a father saying something that a trainer who doesn't have the responsibility of talking and handling his son probably would stay away from. Probably a trainer who's working with somebody who's not their flesh and blood would have already passed the point of where the referee took that point away.
2 rounds ago.
Yeah, he would have passed it
It's in the
already.
rearview mirror.
It would have been gone.
Right.
But not a father. Not a father. That's my son you took that point away from. And I'm still on it. And you should be past it.
Right.
And it hurts the fighter a little bit because you're not giving him advice for the rounds coming up. You're still back in the past.
You cannot detach from that feeling of being disrespected and wanting to protect your son and the emotion attached to that. 10th and final round here. You heard the advice from Manfredo Sr. as he wanted the assistant Larry Army to calm him down a little bit with Rodriguez in the corner, asking Rodriguez to build a little pressure here, but utilize the jab. You heard him say right before he sent him out, hey, 1-2-1 if you have to. There's a right hand. There's that 2. Comes back with a right to the belt line. Separation missed with the right hand. Another looping right hand now from Rodriguez, and he is picking up the pace here in round 10 a bit.
He's doing a little bit better job, Rodriguez, of when he does get close, staying close and working. You know, Rodriguez, for the most part tonight, showed me he'd be a terrible bank robber.
How so?
Because he gets in a vault and before he takes money, he goes out. He leaves.
Right.
Takes some money. See, now he's taking some money. You know, he's taking 10s right now. Now he's going to start looking for the 20s and 100s. See, he went out again. You don't want to go back out. Stay in that vault, both hands, and grab that money. Empty that register.
He's really opening up after some of these punches as well. They're the power punches this round. You see the pace being set by Rodriguez, 15 out of 31.
See, he went out again. Rodriguez, you're in. You're in a good spot there. Don't go out. Stay in there.
Scored with the 1-2, just missed with the right hand that time after the jab.
Pryor's going to have a chance now to let those long arms go, and he lets them go.
Missed with the right hand, did Pryor Jr. Last 45 seconds.
Pryor had a big disadvantage when you're close to him. Those long arms, he doesn't really know how to shorten them up and use them.
6'4.5", the son of the Hall of Famer. Put forth a good effort here tonight against Rodriguez. Rodriguez, the unbeaten prospect. Turning his back for a moment. Was given the advantage with the point deduction in the 8th round. And they'll bring it home to the bell in the center of the ring. Right hand comes in, left hand missed. Pryor Jr. unable to fire off. They both open up with left hands and they stand toe-to-toe right to the end. Good way to open up tonight's Friday night fights. Hawk time ready to enter the ring. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will hear from the judges.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Mallory Square in the Conch Republic, Key West, Florida, after 10 rounds of action, we go to the scorecards. Judge Michael Pernick scores the bout 96-93. Judge Rich Green scores about 98-91, and Judge Rocky Young scores about 97-92. For the winner, by unanimous decision, still undefeated, Edwin La Bomba Rodriguez.
Edwin Rodriguez had won 5 straight by KO, but Pryor Jr. gave him a little bit of a test tonight.